pain, a searing white-hot agony that feels like it's tearing my very soul apart, leaving nothing but a jagged void where my life used to be. Through the haze of tears, I see him, the man who was supposed to be my everything, looking down at me with a face I can't quite read, his hands steady, while mine tremble with the weight of my own despair. Every breath is a struggle, a cruel reminder that I'm still tethered to this miserable existence when all I wanted was for the darkness to finally take me. His eyes aren't filled with the love I once craved. They're cold, sharp, and carry a weight of judgment that I can no longer bear to carry. He looks frustrated, perhaps even angry that I've caused such a scene, even in my most desperate moment of weakness. He orders everyone out, clearing the room to deal with the tragedy he's already decided the ending to, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. I'm nothing more than a broken doll in his hands now, a nuisance that refuses to simply fade away quietly and leave him in peace. He drinks, perhaps to numb himself to the sight of me, or perhaps to find the strength to deal with the mess my life has become. His touch is gentle, almost cruel in its sudden tenderness, reminding me of a warmth that was never truly mine to keep, a kiss that tastes of salt and bitterness. It's a desperate, hollow attempt to bridge a gap that has grown into a bottomless chasm between us. I want to pull away, to scream, to disappear into the shadows where I belong, but my body has long since betrayed my will. Everything begins to fade. The light, the noise, the crushing weight of his presence, it's all slipping into a gray, quiet distance. I see a flicker of something in his gaze. Is it regret, or just the annoyance of a man whose carefully constructed world has been disrupted by my failure? If you have any mercy left in that cold heart of yours, just end this. Don't make me live through another second of this nightmare. Before I was this broken shell, I had a life that made sense. I had a family that loved me. But in one single horrific night, everything I knew turned to ash. A single discarded cigarette, that's all it took to erase my world and leave me standing alone at a double funeral, staring at faces that would never smile at me again. I became a ghost of a girl, forced to grow up in the long shadow of a tragedy that no child should ever have to understand. The world kept moving forward, but I was forever stuck in that burning house, reaching for hands that would never reach back. They called my name, but I didn't recognize the person they were talking to. Yuina was gone, buried under the weight of grief. I tried to find a new purpose, to lose myself in the music, hoping the stage would be the one place I could finally breathe. But fate wasn't done taking from me. My voice, the only thing I had left to my name, the only way I could speak to the world, began to fail. The silence was deafening. Without my songs, who was I? Just a girl waiting for the inevitable end. I reached the top, but the view was empty. The applause I fought so hard for sounded like mocking laughter in my ears. When the doctor gave me the news, I didn't cry. I was almost relieved. The finish line was finally in sight, and I wouldn't have to fight anymore. A hospital bed, the sharp smell of antiseptic, and the realization that my story was ending in the most pathetic, lonely way possible. I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger staring back, a woman who had fought for everything and ended up with absolutely nothing. So I made my choice. I decided to take back control the only way I knew how, ending the cycle of pain on my own terms. But death didn't take me. Instead, I woke up to a ceiling I didn't recognize and a body that felt disturbingly unfamiliar. My eyes, they're the color of a summer sky I haven't seen in years. This isn't my face. This isn't my room. This isn't me. A priest tells me my marriage was yesterday. Marriage? I was supposed to be dead, not standing at the start of a life I never asked for. He mentions a rope, a failed attempt, and names that sound like echoes from a dream I had once. Luciano, Dorothea. I know these names. I've read them in a story, a novel about a saint and a fallen princess that I used to escape my own life. The saint who abandons her status, a tragic tale of obsession and dark magic. And I am the villainess destined for ruin. In the book, Aria Deline was a woman consumed by a love that would never be returned, forever a shadow to the perfect golden saint. She married the crown prince, thinking it would be her salvation, but it only sealed her doom in the eyes of the world. She gave him her entire heart, and in return he gave her nothing but cold glances and a name that belonged to someone else. Desperation eventually drove her to the dark arts, a final, cursed attempt to keep a man who was never hers to begin with. But instead of being sent to a monastery, as the story dictated, I woke up here, in this bed, trapped in a life that belongs to a villainess. I try to speak, to ask for help, to understand why I'm still here, but my throat is tight, choked by a silence that feels all too familiar. The wounds on my neck are a grim reminder of the truth. I tried to end one life, only to find myself imprisoned in another. My voice was the first thing they took from me. A quiet, clinical theft that left nothing but these bandages and a hollow silence where my life used to be. Sitting in this sterile room, the weight of the betrayal feels heavier than the silence. I am a ghost in my own skin, waiting for a world that has already moved on without me. Every movement is a struggle, a physical manifestation of the exhaustion rotting my soul. I can't stay here, trapped in the wreckage of a life I no longer recognize. They thought they had broken me completely, but there is one last choice I can make, one final way to ensure they can never hurt me again. The floor is cold against my bare feet, but the sensation barely registers. I am focused only on the end, on the quiet promise of peace that lies just beyond this final act. My hands tremble as I grip the rough fibers. It is a terrifying weight to hold, but it is the only thing I have left that belongs entirely to me. I look out at the world one last time. It is beautiful, cruel, and completely indifferent to the woman who is about to disappear into the shadows. This is it, the final period at the end of a long, painful sentence. I close my eyes, ready to let go of the breath I've been struggling to keep. But then, a voice shatters the silence. A scream that doesn't belong in my memory calls out my name with a desperation that pulls me back from the brink. I gasp, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. The shock of being alive is a cold current through my veins. Was it a dream, or have I been dragged back to the very nightmare I tried to escape? The question hangs in the air, heavy with the stench of betrayal. I look up at her, waiting for a shred of remorse that I know will never come. She wears that mask of grace so well, hiding the venom behind a gentle smile and a pearl-draped facade. My voice cracks, a pathetic sound against the cold reality of her indifference. I thought we were sisters in spirit, if not in blood. She reaches out, not to comfort me, but to savor the sight of my ruin up close. Her touch feels like ice against my skin. She whispers her poison directly into my ear, making sure every word sinks deep into my soul. I was nothing more than a puppet to her, a tool to be discarded once the performance was over. The shock is a physical weight, pinning me to the floor as the world I knew dissolves into a nightmare. She looks down on me with such casual cruelty, as if my suffering is merely a boring detail in her grand design. My heart hammers against my ribs, a trapped bird sensing its end. There is nowhere left to run. And then there is him, the man who stood by and watched it all happen without a single word of protest. His silence is the sharpest blade of all, cutting through the last of my hope. She turns away, the rustle of her silk skirts sounding like a final sentence. A prayer for a long life? It sounds more like a curse coming from those beautiful, lying lips. Cast out to the countryside, forgotten and broken. That is the future she has carved for me. I grip the cold floor, my fingers trembling. The weight of this humiliation is more than I can bear. I watch her back as she leaves, taking the light of my life with her and leaving me in the shadows. I wake up, But the nightmare hasn't ended. The ceiling is unfamiliar, but the pain in my chest is a constant companion. In the mirror, I see a stranger, a girl wrapped in bandages, her eyes hollowed out by a grief that shouldn't be possible. The memories of her laughter and my tears clash in my mind, a cruel reminder of the girl I used to be. I touch my throat, feeling the rough texture of the cloth. I survived, but at what cost? My reflection stares back, accusing me of my own weakness. Why did I let her get so close? I look at my hands, still bandaged, still shaking. Every movement is a struggle against the gravity of my despair. Underneath the linen, the scars tell the story of my failed escape. They are ugly, jagged reminders of a night I want to forget. The wounds on my neck, my arms, my stomach, they all scream the same thing. I am still here, even when I don't want to be. If this world won't let me find peace, then I'll just have to try harder. I won't be their puppet any longer. I find myself back in the forest. The sunlight filtering through the leaves feels like a mockery of my internal darkness. I've become far too good at this, finding the right branch, the right height. It's a grim talent to possess. I hear a sudden rustle in the bushes. I'm not alone. A knight stands there, his eyes wide with shock. He looks like he's seen a ghost, and perhaps he has. He's frozen, unable to process the sight of a noblewoman standing in the dirt with a rope in her hands. I don't recognize him, but I recognize the pity in his gaze. I hate it. I don't want his help. I want his absence. He lunges forward, his hands grasping for the rope, determined to stop me from making a mistake he can't understand. The struggle is brief but painful. Every pull on the rope sends a jolt of fire through my healing wounds. He shouts something, his voice full of a frantic urgency that irritates me. Why does he care? I look him dead in the eye, my expression blank. He's trying to save a life that's already been discarded. The bandages on my neck start to seep red. The physical pain is nothing compared to the exhaustion in my heart. I try to pull away, but he's too strong. He's determined to play the hero, even if the damsel is the one holding the noose. His face is pale, sweat beading on his forehead as he realizes just how far gone I am. I turn my head toward the tree, the only place I thought I could find some quiet. He calls out for help, his voice echoing through the trees, shattering the silence I worked so hard to find. He's terrified, looking back toward the path as if expecting reinforcements to arrive and save us both from this moment. And then they arrive. The Crown Prince Luciano and Princess Dorothea, the golden couple of the empire, shining with a light I can no longer stand. The knight drops to his knees, his report breathless and panicked. He tells them exactly where he found me. Luciano looks at me with a mixture of confusion and concern, his perfect brow furrowed in a way that feels utterly hollow. Dorothea steps forward, her white dress pristine against the forest floor. She acts the part of the saintly sister so perfectly. Luciano nods, entrusting my care to her as if she hasn't been the one sharpening the knives behind my back. I wonder if this is a curse. Maybe the original Ariadne is punishing me for taking her place, making sure I can't leave this world. The rope is still there, a constant temptation. I look at it, then at them. The cycle is never ending. Everything goes blurry for a moment as the strength finally leaves my legs. I'm so tired of fighting. I blink, the world slowly coming back into focus. I'm still trapped in this body, in this life. The knight is still holding me, his grip like a vice. He's afraid that if he lets go, I'll vanish into the shadows again. I look at him with pure annoyance. His interference has only delayed the inevitable and brought more eyes upon my shame. He's shouting my name, his voice filled with a desperate need to keep me conscious, to keep me anchored here. I just wanted to die quietly. Was that really too much to ask for? Dorothea approaches, her expression one of practiced worry. She watches as Luciano prepares to cut the cord. The rope falls away, but the feeling of it around my neck remains. It's a ghost that will follow me forever. I collapse onto the grass, a heap of white linen and blonde hair. They stand over me like judges in a trial I never asked for. Dorothea leans in, her eyes searching mine for any sign of the girl she once knew. She won't find her. She looks genuinely shocked, as if she can't believe I would go this far to escape her shadow. She asks me what happened, her voice trembling with a false sweetness that makes my skin crawl. I try to answer, to tell her to leave me alone, but my throat feels like it's been filled with glass. She stares at me, the silence stretching between us until it becomes something physical, something suffocating. The realization dawns on her face. She asks the question I've been dreading since I woke up. I close my eyes, trying to find words that no longer exist. My voice is gone, stolen by the very night I tried to end. I can see the gears turning in her head, calculating how to use this new weakness to her advantage. She looks like a saint to the world, but to me, she is the architect of my silence. I am left staring at her, a broken bird with no song left to sing, trapped in a garden of thorns. Dorothea is the light of this world, a saint whose very presence promises a cure for the broken. I watch her, my heart hammering against my ribs, wondering if her grace can reach the darkness I've carved into my own flesh. If she can heal my throat, maybe the silence won't be a prison anymore. But there is a flicker of doubt in her eyes, a hesitation that makes me wonder if some wounds are too deep even for a saint. We stand in the quiet of the forest, two figures caught in a story that was supposed to have ended long ago. She reaches for my hands, her touch a silent promise of restoration. In the original novel, Dorothea was the ultimate healer, the one who could mend any spirit and fix any tragedy. Now, I am the tragedy she is determined to solve. Her eyes shimmer with a divine intensity. She believes in her power, in the light she carries, and for a fleeting second, I almost allow myself to believe in it too. But as she prepares to begin, a cold shiver runs down my spine. There is something unnatural about this hope, something that feels like a trap waiting to spring. Then she begins to sing. The melody is ethereal, a sound that should be a balm to a weary soul. It fills the air, vibrating through the trees like a sacred hum. It's mesmerizing, a voice so beautiful it seems to transcend reality. For a moment, the world goes still, caught in the web of her song. But the miracle turns into a massacre. The sound hits my throat like a symphony of glass shards. It doesn't mend, it burns, tearing through the raw edges of my injury. Dorothea falters, her song cutting off as she sees the agony etched across my face. The light in the forest seems to dim, the promise of healing curdling into a nightmare. I clutch my neck, the fire spreading through my chest. I want to scream for her to stop, to let the quiet take me back, but the words are incinerated before they can even form. The pain is a physical weight, a suffocating heat that locks my jaw and blurs my vision. This isn't a cure, it's a reminder of my own failure to end things. She looks on in horror, her divine gift failing for the first time. The silence that follows is heavier than the one before, thick with the scent of failure and burnt hope. Luciano rushes towards us, his face pale with a panic he can't hide. He sees the state I'm in, the way I'm gasping for air that refuses to come. He catches me as I stumble, his hands steady, but his eyes filled with a desperate confusion. He looks to Dorothea for answers, but she has none to give. She stares at her own hands, at the power that was supposed to fix me. The shock on her face is a mirror of my own despair. Why didn't it work? I can only weep, the tears hot and silent as they track through the dust on my cheeks. I am a broken instrument that not even a goddess could tune. My mouth hangs open in a silent cry, a hollow cavern where my voice used to live. The world is moving around me, but I am trapped in the static of my own pain. The realization settles in like cold lead. I can no longer speak.
The voice that once defined my existence has been permanently silenced, left behind in the shadow of the rope. I struggle against Luciano's grip, a wild, frantic need to be away from them, away from their pity and their failed miracles. Just let me go. Just let me fade away.
But they won't. They hold on tighter, forcing me to endure the life I tried so hard to leave behind. I am a prisoner of their mercy. They take me to the Cathedral of St. Burial, a monument of stone and prayer that feels more like a tomb than a sanctuary. The brothers gather, their voices a low drone of false comfort. Dorothea is inconsolable, her grief even louder than the silence I'm forced to keep. She believes that if we pray hard enough, the heavens will finally listen. I sit in the pews, a ghost in a black dress, watching the light filter through the high windows. The service is a blur of rituals and words that have lost all meaning to me. I can't focus. My mind drifts back to the novel, to the ending that should have been my final chapter. Why am I still here? Why won't the story just let me die? I look up at the stained glass, at the vibrant, unfeeling faces of the saints. They look down with a hollow grace, offering no answers to the questions I can't ask. The eyes of the icons seem to follow me, judging my survival as a sin I can't repent for. I am an anomaly in their perfect world of divine intervention. I try to offer a plea, a silent prayer for the one thing I've wanted since this nightmare began, but even the heavens seem to have turned their back on me. Then, something impossible happens. The book in my lap begins to glow, the letters shifting and dancing across the page like living things. This isn't the scripture I was taught. I lean in, my heart skipping a beat. The words are changing right before my eyes, forming a narrative that shouldn't exist. It's a spin-off of the life I'm trying to escape. The ink bleeds into a memory, a vision of a future, or perhaps a past, that feels more real than the stone walls around me. My eyes widen as the story takes shape. It's a scene with Carlotte. The name alone is a curse, a reminder of the man who orchestrated my downfall. The book relishes in the details of my torment. His voice is a low, cruel rumble in my mind, telling me I will never forget him, even when the world fades. He is the architect of my misery, and he's not finished with me yet. He stands there with that cold, detached gaze, a man who views my suffering as a triviality. To him, I am nothing but a tool, a means to an end he's already reached. The book calls me a side character, a woman defined by a love that was never returned, a puppet dancing on strings of unchanging obsession. It's a cruel, scripted joke. He looks at me with an expression that is almost like pity, but it's sharper, more dangerous. He is the one making me miserable, and he knows I can't stop him. The page turns red with the memory of blood. The story is determined to keep me in this cycle of pain, to make sure I suffer until the very last word is written. I stare at the book, my hands trembling. The setup is too harsh, too calculated. Is this all I am? A sacrificial lamb for someone else's happy ending? But I've had enough. I stand up, the wood of the pew scraping against the floor. If the story says I'm supposed to be here, then I'll find a way to tear the pages out. If things go according to this new story, I might finally find the end I've been searching for. If I have to face him again, maybe this time his sword will be my salvation. I run, leaving the service and the pitying eyes behind. My feet carry me toward the light of the exit, a frantic need to escape the script burning in my chest. The service isn't over, but I don't care. I stop in the courtyard, the fresh air hitting me like a slap. I have to know if I can change this. I have to know if I'm still human. I touch my throat, the silence still a heavy weight. If the spin-off says I have a line, then why am I still mute? Why is the world refusing to give me back my voice? I grip my dress until my knuckles turn white. I am a prisoner of my own body, trapped in a narrative that won't let me die and won't let me live.
A priest finds me, his face twisted in a mix of annoyance and concern. He thinks I'm just a troublesome noble girl, another burden for them to carry. He asks why I'm crying, why I'm making a scene. I want to scream the truth at him, but every question he asks is a door I can't open. He reaches out, his touch formal and cold. He doesn't see the woman behind the silence. He only sees a problem to be managed. I pull away, my heart breaking all over again. Dorothea and Luciano find me then, their constant reminder of the life I'm forced to lead. They look at me with that unbearable pity, that constant, crushing concern. The priest explains that I'm upset, as if that explains anything at all. They don't know about the book. They don't know about the story that is rewriting itself in my hands. Dorothea rushes to my side, her warmth a contrast to the cold stone of the cathedral. She asks what happened, her voice a gentle probe into a wound she can't see. I look at her and wonder, am I even allowed to have hope? Or is this pain just another chapter in a book I never asked to be in? Is dying really my only option? Is there no path forward that doesn't involve my own destruction? I clutch my throat, the silence a scream I can't let out. If this is life, then just kill me already. Stop trying to mend what is shattered. Stop trying to love a ghost that is already half gone. We stand there, a tableau of grief and confusion. They want to help, but they are only making the cage smaller, the air thinner. I am drowning in their kindness. Later, Dorothea sits alone in her study, the weight of my suffering finally sinking in. She saw the marks on my neck, the evidence of my desperation. She realizes it wasn't just a single moment of despair. It was a recurring nightmare, a map of all the times I tried to leave this world and failed. Luciano enters, his presence a comfort she usually welcomes, but today his words feel like a distraction from the truth she's just discovered. He thinks I'm just upset about Carlo Tian's engagement, that my pain is a simple matter of a broken heart. He has no idea how deep the rot actually goes. He looks at her with love, talking about their future, their marriage, their life together. He wants to protect her from the darkness, but the darkness is already inside their home. Dorothea smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. She can't ignore the broken girl they're keeping in the garden, the one who tried to hang herself while they were celebrating. He wants to stay here, cooped up in the monastery where it's safe and quiet. He wants to keep the world away, but Dorothea knows that the world is already coming for us. She stands up, her decision made. We can't stay here. We can't hide from the tragedy that is unfolding right in front of us. She looks at him with a newfound determination. Ariadne needs more than a prayer and a song. She needs a reason to live, or at least a place where she can breathe. Luciano turns away, his reluctance written in the slump of his shoulders. He knows what this means. He knows that taking me back is a risk they might not survive. Ariadne must be taken to the capital, back to the heart of the storm, back to the man who broke her, and back to the story that refuses to end. The journey is just beginning, and the capital holds secrets that might finally break the silence, or shatter what's left of my soul. The air in the room suddenly feels too thin to breathe. I thought the rope would be the end of my story, but life has a cruel way of dragging you back into the light you never wanted. And there she is, Dorothea, the saint of the kingdom, standing beside my brother Luciano with that same pitying, perfect smile. Why are they here? I was supposed to be a ghost by now, a forgotten stain on the family name, yet they won't even let me have my silence. They were persistent enough that the temple let them in, and now I'm forced to endure this charade of concern. Dorothea reaches out, her voice dripping with a kindness that feels like a serrated blade against my skin. She takes my hands, promising to heal the marks I left on myself, as if a bit of holy magic could erase the rot in my soul. It's irritating beyond belief. Every touch, every note of her humming feels like an insult to the choice I tried to make. I just want her to finish her little performance and leave. I don't need a savior, especially not her. But as she works, her eyes widen. She feels it, the void that no amount of light can fill.
She realizes the healing isn't working. For a second, her perfect composure slips, replaced by a genuine, terrifying confusion. She flees the room, leaving me alone with the man who hates me most in this world. Luciano looms over me, his silhouette a dark shadow against the walls of my prison. He thinks this is all a game. He accuses me of faking it, of trying to claw my way back to the capital through pity. He doesn't realize I'd rather rot here than see that city again. The silence between us is heavy with years of resentment. He looks at me and sees a monster, never the sister he once knew. He sneers, telling me I'm finally acting like the Ariadne he remembers, the one who causes nothing but trouble. In the hallway, Dorothea's voice rings out with a sudden, sharp authority. She's making a decision that will change everything. She confronts the temple priest, her eyes flashing with a cold fury. She knows I haven't been cared for, and she won't stand for it. The priest stammers, trying to shift the blame back onto me, as if my despair was a crime he wasn't responsible for managing. He claims it's my own fault, that I brought this suffering upon myself. Dorothea's reaction is swift and uncompromising. She declares that I will be moved to the capital temple under her direct surveillance. The cage is just changing locations. Luciano catches up to her, his frustration boiling over. He doesn't understand why she's protecting someone as wretched as me. Dorothea turns to him, her expression hauntingly solemn. She has seen something in me that he refuses to acknowledge. She tells him to stop looking at me as just a criminal. There is a deeper, darker truth to my wounds. The words hang in the air, chilling the very marrow of his bones. She knows what I've done. She reveals that I haven't just been hurting myself with physical blades. I've been using dark magic to tear my own spirit apart. Luciano is stunned. Dark magic is a death sentence, a corruption that goes beyond the flesh. It's a power that consumes the soul in eternal suffering, a curse that ensures there is no peace, even in death. He remembers the past, how I failed to use that same magic against him. He thought I was weak, but the truth is far more terrifying. I wasn't too weak to kill him. I was simply more focused on destroying myself. By casting that magic on my own body, I wasn't just seeking death. I was wishing for myself to fall into the deepest pits of hell. Luciano can't reconcile this with the sister he hates. The Ariadne he knows would never choose such a path of self-annihilation. Dorothea sees the shift in the narrative. Something inside me has broken in a way they can't comprehend. She suspects it's regret, a guilt so heavy that I've decided to lock my soul in a cage of eternal pain. They walk through the temple gardens, discussing my fate as if I'm already a ghost. They think the capital is the only place that can hold me. Dorothea's resolve is absolute. She won't let me slip away into the darkness, not yet. Luciano finally relents, his sigh heavy with a mix of duty and lingering confusion. He'll take me, but he won't forgive me. The carriage rattles, the sound of iron on stone echoing the rhythm of my heartbeat. I'm being moved like a beast in a cage. They treat me with a careful, distant cruelty, ensuring the world knows exactly what I am, a villainess in chains. I remember Dorothea's face, the way she looked at me with that unbearable pity. She thinks she can save me from myself, but the capital isn't a place of healing for me. It's the stage where my original tragedy was written. The iron bars of the carriage blur as we pass through the gates. I can feel the eyes of the guards, the silent judgment of a city that remembers my sins. I never imagined they would treat me this badly, even after everything. The humiliation is a cold, sharp weight in my chest. Ariadne, the villainess who tormented the saint. That's the story they tell. That's the only truth they'll ever accept. If we had arrived during the day, the crowds would have been there with stones and insults. Nightfall is my only mercy, but in the dark, I have room to breathe. I have room to plan. If they want a villainess, I'll give them one with a purpose. I signal to the guard, my voice a low, desperate rasp. I need something, and I need it now. Just one sheet of paper and a pen. It's a small request, but it's the key to the only escape I have left. The guard is confused, but he complies, likely hoping to just keep me quiet for the rest of the journey. I write with a frantic, focused energy. Every word is a gamble, a message to the only person who might understand the side story I'm living in. This should do it. If the memories of my past life are true, this is the only way to change the ending of this chapter. I look out at the approaching spires of the temple, the massive, overwhelming architecture of my new prison. I know this place. I know its secrets, and I know exactly who is waiting within its walls. The Capitol Temple. It looms over the city like a silent judge, bathed in the cold light of the moon. The carriage stops, and the doors are thrown open. The guard reaches for my bonds, his touch impersonal and rough. I let out a small, hidden smile. This is the moment I've been waiting for, the moment the script finally breaks. Before they can even realize what's happening, I'm gone. I burst past them, my bare feet hitting the cold stone with a desperate rhythm. They shout behind me, their orders for capture echoing through the courtyard. But I have nothing left to lose, and that makes me faster than fear. I run through the gardens, the shadows my only allies. I just need to get a little closer. He has to be there. My feet are cut by the gravel, the pain a grounding force in the chaos. If the stories are right, he seeks the lake when he's troubled. I push through the brush, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I can't stop now, not when I'm so close to the man who holds my fate. And then I see him, a solitary figure standing by the water, a silhouette of power and quiet sorrow. Carlosian. The name tastes like hope and terror all at once. He turns, his gaze sharp and unforgiving. Our eyes lock, and for a second the world stops. I'm a disheveled mess, a fugitive in my own home, standing before the man I once ruined. I stand my ground, the letter clutched in my hand. This wasn't how the story was supposed to go, but it's the only ending I'm willing to write. Why are you here? He stares at me with a cold suspicion that's become as familiar as the silence in my throat. I don't answer. I just hand him the note, the one thing I've been carrying like a lifeline through the dark. Kill me. It's a simple request, written in a hand that shouldn't be this steady for someone so broken. He's stunned. He wasn't expecting the girl he despises to be the one begging for her own end. I know he doesn't care about me. To him, I'm just a shadow in the garden, a nuisance to be dealt with. He demands to know why I'm in the capital, convinced I have some grand, wicked plan to follow the saint. He's certain I'm here to hurt Dorothea again. It's almost funny. The only person I want to hurt is the girl standing right in front of him. He says he's tired of this. Good. I'm exhausted too. Let's end the cycle right here, tonight. I see the knights in the distance, their silhouettes sharp against the moonlight. They've stopped their chase. They aren't going to stop him. Why would they? They're all waiting for the same outcome. They want to see the villain fall. They want the world to be rid of the burden that is Ariadne. I see it now. The clarity that comes when you finally accept that there is no place for you in this world. Everyone wants me dead. The realization isn't painful, it's a relief. It means I'm finally making the right choice. His grip tightens on the hilt. This is it, the moment I've been praying for since I opened my eyes again. The flash of steel is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's quick, efficient, and utterly final. I feel the heat of the blood before I feel the pain. It's a messy, violent end for a life that was never clean. I stumble, my strength leaving me as the ground rushes up to meet me in a cold, silent embrace. Finally. The weight of the world is lifting. I can feel the grass against my cheek, cool and indifferent to my passing. I hear footsteps, but they sound so far away now, like a memory fading into the mist. He stands over me, his sword dripping with my failure. He looks down, perhaps waiting for a plea for mercy that will never come. My breath is shallow, ragged. Every gasp is a struggle I'm more than happy to lose. I look at his face one last time.
He seems so cold, so distant. It's exactly what I needed him to be. I try to speak, but only blood fills my mouth, the words choking on my own relief. Before I go, I have to let him know. I have to say the only thing that matters in this moment.
Thank you. The darkness is starting to take over, and for the first time, I'm not afraid to fall asleep. Ariadne! The voice is a scream, a jagged blade cutting through the beautiful silence of the void. I open my eyes, and the light is blinding. This isn't the afterlife. This is just another room, another day. Why am I still here? Why did the world refuse to let me go when I was so close to peace? Dorothea is there, her face a mask of worry. She's relieved, but all I feel is a crushing sense of disappointment. She hands me a notebook and a pen, a cruel reminder that I can't even scream my frustration at being alive. I start to write. My hands are shaking, not from fear, but from the sheer weight of this unwanted survival. You're the one who saved me? I need to know who to blame for this miracle that feels like a curse. She tells me about the moment Carlosian drew his sword. She speaks of it like a tragedy, while I remember it as a mercy. I look at the words on the page. Why? Why would anyone bother with a girl as broken as me? She says she couldn't let me die. She doesn't understand. By saving me, she's only prolonging the agony of my existence. I ask her about the knights. They could have stopped him. They chose to watch instead. Her silence is all the answer I need. They wanted me gone just as much as he did. I was the common enemy. They all want me dead. Everyone except the girl sitting in front of me, who thinks she's doing a good deed by keeping me here. I grab the book again. I need her to understand. I need her to see the monster I am so she will let go. You should hate me too. I deserve to be hated. I'm begging her to stop being kind. It hurts more than the sword ever did. I tell her to never interfere with my life again. I want to be left alone in the dark where I belong, away from her light. She tells me to rest, that it's bad for my health to be this upset, as if health matters to someone who's already dead inside. What more can I do? I was so close. I had the end in my grasp, and they tore it away with their misplaced pity. The door opens, and the air in the room turns cold. The shadow of my past walks in. Carlosian, the man who nearly finished the job. He looks at me, and for once, his gaze isn't filled with pure hate. He says he didn't know Dorothea brought me here. He sounds guilty, as if he's the one who failed. I'm really sorry. The words are hollow. He's apologizing for the one thing he actually did right. Does he think a simple sorry can fix the fact that I'm still breathing in this miserable world? But as I look at him, a new thought takes hold, a desperate, flickering hope born of my own despair. In this endlessly hopeless life, he's the only one who didn't hesitate to hurt me when I asked. He's the only one who can save me from this existence, not with kindness, but with the steel he carries. If he's truly sorry, then he should give me what I actually want. He should finish what he started. I reach out, my movements slow and deliberate, my eyes locked on his. I take his hands. They're strong, capable of so much violence. They're the only hands I trust. I pull them toward me. I want him to feel the pulse he tried to stop, to know that it's still waiting for him. Go ahead. Don't hesitate. I'm smiling now, a genuine, terrifying smile of pure desperation. I place his hands around my throat. It's an intimate, morbid request for him to be my executioner once more. Quickly, I whisper in my mind, urging him to find that coldness again, to be the man who hated me. He's frozen. The man who slashed me in the garden without a second thought is now trembling at the touch of my skin. He pulls back, his face filled with a horror I didn't think he was capable of feeling for me. He retreats, stumbling away as if I'm the one holding the weapon, as if my desire to die is more dangerous than his sword. I watch him go, the silence of the room returning to suffocate me. My chance is slipping away again. Maybe this wasn't the right choice. Maybe even the man who hates me isn't strong enough to set me free from this nightmare.